Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. The smartest move you'll never see coming is made by someone who doesn't need to be seen at all. In a world obsessed with attention, dominance, and clout chasing, there exists a different breed of woman, the Sigma female. She doesn't raise her voice, she doesn't seek validation, but when she moves, empires tremble. And enemies? They're left disoriented, defeated, and unsure if they were ever in a game to begin with. Here's a fact that might just send a chill down your spine. According to behavioral analysts, people who operate outside social hierarchies tend to be the most psychologically unpredictable, and therefore, the most powerful in conflict. That's the Sigma female in one line. She's not just playing a different game, she's playing without rules. You see, while everyone else is busy showing off their strategy, she's already rewritten the rule book in invisible ink. Enemies try to read her, but end up decoding themselves instead. It's not mind games, it's mental chess. And she's always 5 moves ahead, sipping tea while you sweat. So, if you've ever wondered how some women stay composed while completely dismantling those who cross them without ever raising their voice or breaking a sweat, get ready. Because today, we're diving into 20 genius, brutally elegant, and deeply confusing ways Sigma females outsmart and psychologically dismantle their enemies. And spoiler alert, if you think you're her enemy, you might already be losing. Let's begin. Number 1. They don't break you, they let you break yourself in their absence. They don't break you, they let you break yourself in their absence. That's the final move in the Sigma female's playbook, one that's quiet, surgical, and devastating. She doesn't need to scream, clap back, or seek revenge. She simply walks away and takes every ounce of her energy with her. And that silence, it does the damage. Not because she intended it to, but because her presence was the only thing holding some people together in the first place. Enemies don't realize how much they relied on her calm until it's gone, how much her attention validated them, how much her existence gave their chaos some kind of balance. She's not trying to hurt them, but her absence forces them to face the one thing they were running from all along, themselves. There are no fireworks, no grand goodbye, no final speech. She's just not there anymore. And the questions begin to eat at the people left behind. Why did she leave? Did I go too far? Was I ever really in control? The truth is, most people try to control, manipulate, or compete with others to avoid confronting their own emptiness. And when the Sigma exits, that mirror they've been dodging comes crashing down in front of them. They start second-guessing every word, every action, every intention. They replay conversations, trying to spot where things went wrong. But there are no clues, because she gave them every chance. She just refused to explain herself when they failed to notice. And that's what makes it brutal. Not because she destroyed them, but because they realize they did it to themselves, with every petty jab, every underestimated glance, every time they thought she was too quiet to fight back. Turns out she didn't need to fight. She just needed to walk away and let the silence show them exactly who they were when she was no longer there to hide it. Number 2, they use their stillness to make enemies expose themselves. She uses stillness like a scalpel, precise, cold, and impossible to predict. While others react, defend, or explode, the Sigma female stays completely still, not passive, not weak, still. And in that stillness, something terrifying happens. Her enemies start to unravel. People are used to emotional feedback loops. They throw a jab, they expect a reaction. They raise their voice, they expect resistance. But when there's nothing, no argument, no eye roll, no energy given back, they begin to spiral. That silence becomes a mirror, and it forces them to hear their own words bouncing off the walls, echoing louder than they intended. The Sigma knows that sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. She doesn't need to interrupt your tantrum. She doesn't need to prove a point. She just watches. Calm, controlled, completely unreadable. And that calmness? It terrifies people who depend on chaos to feel powerful. Because what do you do when the person you're trying to rattle won't even blink? That's when enemies start revealing too much. They over-explain. They contradict themselves. They expose their insecurities, fears, and true intentions, all while trying to provoke someone who refuses to give them fuel. What they don't know is, While they're falling apart, she's mentally taking notes. Not for revenge, but for clarity, for strategy, for future power. Stillness doesn't mean she's checked out. It means she's watching everything, remembering everything, and letting you dig your own hole, quietly, efficiently, completely. By the time they realize how much they've exposed, it's too late. The damage is done, not by her hand, but by their own inability to sit with silence. And that's her power. She never needed to speak. She just needed to give you the space to show who you really are. Number 3. They can make an enemy feel invisible in a room full of people. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't make a scene. She doesn't even say your name. But when a Sigma female decides you no longer exist to her, it's like being erased while still standing in the middle of the room. You're there, but not to her. And somehow, that cuts deeper than any insult ever could. It's not revenge. It's not anger. It's indifference. And that's the part that stings. Because most people are prepared for conflict. They know how to argue, to defend, to spin the story. But nothing prepares you for being treated like a ghost by someone who used to see you so clearly. No warning, no explanation, just gone. From her emotional radar, from her eyes, from her energy. You could be talking, laughing, even surrounded by people. But if she's decided you don't matter, it shows. Her attention, which once felt like sunlight, is now completely redirected. You'll feel the temperature shift when she walks into the room and looks right through you like you're a wall. And suddenly, you're not the enemy. You're no one. The worst part, you crave her attention again. You try to bait her with reactions. You push, you provoke, you hope she'll snap. Anything to prove you still exist in her world. But she doesn't budge, because the moment she decided you were out, that door closed for good. No drama, no performance. Just a permanent, quiet exit. People think hate is the opposite of love. It's not. Indifference is. And Sigma females understand that better than anyone. Their silence speaks. Their absence is a message. Their refusal to acknowledge you is the final judgment. And it echoes louder than any argument ever could. By the time you realize how much her gaze meant, it's too late. You'll never get it back. And that's the punishment. You now know exactly what you lost, and she doesn't even flinch. Number 4. They pretend to be uninterested while analyzing everything. Sigma females have mastered the art of appearing disinterested, so much so it disarms even the most cunning opponent. They sit quietly, maybe nod once or twice, maybe glance at their phone, maybe even yawn. To the untrained eye, it looks like they've mentally checked out. But behind that calm, unreadable exterior, something far more dangerous is happening. She's analyzing everything. She's not zoning out. She's zooming in. Every twitch in your face, every slip in your tone, every defensive laugh. You think she's bored, but she's building a mental blueprint of your entire psychological makeup. What makes you insecure? What you're overcompensating for? What part of your story doesn't add up? She doesn't interrupt because she doesn't need to. People reveal more when they think they're not being watched. That's the trap. Sigma females know that pretending to be unimpressed makes people overperform. They try harder to be heard, to be respected, to dominate the room, and in doing so, they expose their flaws. The overtalker shows their insecurity. The liar gets tangled in their own contradictions. The manipulator plays all their cards too soon. And she's just sitting there, quiet, still, catching it all. By the time the enemy realizes she was never really detached, it's too late. The damage is done. She already knows who you are, where you're weakest, and how to dismantle you, if she ever decides you're worth the effort. And that's the part that's most unsettling. You never know if you were being ignored or being studied. She doesn't need to talk over you to win. She'll let you monologue your way into exposure while she stores every detail in a mental vault, calm, quiet, and 3 moves ahead. It's not that she doesn't care. It's that pretending not to is how she wins. Number 5. They feed people just enough rope to hang themselves. Sigma females don't waste time trying to control or confront their enemies. That would require energy she has no interest in giving away. Instead, she plays a smarter, quieter game. She lets people talk. She lets them flex. She lets them overplay their hand while sitting back and feeding them just enough rope to hang themselves. She doesn't interrupt your lies. She won't call you out on your manipulation. She simply watches closely and allows you to keep performing for an audience that isn't clapping. Because here's what she knows. People with inflated egos always go too far, always. All she has to do is give them space to keep talking, to keep showing off, to keep digging their own grave in front of everyone. And while they're doing that, she's quietly collecting the evidence. Not receipts in the petty sense, real psychological proof. Inconsistencies, power grabs, hidden motives. She sees the cracks before they split wide open. She doesn't rush to expose anyone because she knows time always does it better. When they finally fall apart, no one's surprised except the person who thought they were getting away with it. The Sigma female knows that confrontation isn't always power. Sometimes the most powerful move is allowing someone to believe they're winning, right up until they sabotage themselves. And when it happens, she won't say, "I told you so." She won't gloat. She'll just stay silent, composed, and strangely absent because she already saw it coming. That's what makes her so unnerving. She doesn't need to fight you to beat you. She simply lets you believe you're ahead, while she walks 3 steps behind, taking mental notes and waiting for gravity to do the rest. And when it all crumbles, she'll still be pretending not to notice. Because that's how a true strategist wins. Quietly, completely, and without ever lifting a hand. Number 6. They ask questions that sound innocent, but are psychological landmines. A Sigma female doesn't raise her voice or start debates. She asks questions. But not just any questions. Hers are calm, calculated, and razor-sharp beneath the surface. On the outside, they sound innocent, almost casual. But once they land, they trigger something deep, because she doesn't ask to be polite. She asks to expose. She knows that the right question, asked at the right moment, can dismantle a person faster than any insult. And she never asks anything she doesn't already suspect the answer to. Instead, she uses her question as a scalpel, slicing straight through ego, deflection, and defense, and hitting the soft, raw spot the person thought they had hidden. The beauty of it is how disarming it feels. She might ask something like, "Why did that bother you so much?" Or, "Is that really what happened, or what you wanted to believe?" And suddenly, the room gets colder. Because now, the enemy is exposed. They either have to lie again, which digs the hole deeper, or tell the truth, which gives her the upper hand. It's not about playing mind games. It's about emotional precision. She doesn't yell or accuse. She just drops the question, sits back, and watches the unraveling begin. Most people panic in silence. They fill the air with over-explaining, contradiction, nervous laughter. And while they're spiraling, she's just watching, calm, still, untouched. The real sting? She only needs one question to do all this. One. She won't follow up. She won't debate. She'll ask it once, let it hang in the air like smoke, and wait. And that wait, that's where the power lives. Because anyone who's ever been on the receiving end of a Sigma's precision question knows you don't walk away the same. You walk away shaken, exposed, and wondering how she saw through everything, without ever raising her voice. Number 7. They intuit what people hide and mirror it back subtly. Sigma females have an almost eerie ability to read between the lines, of speech, of silence, of body language. While others listen to what's said, she picks up on what's not said. She senses the shame someone tries to cover with bravado, the insecurity hidden behind overconfidence, the envy tucked beneath fake praise. And she doesn't just see it, she reflects it back. But she does it without confrontation, without drama, without even naming it. Maybe it's a look that holds eye contact just a few seconds too long. Maybe it's a single word that lands like a dart. Maybe it's complete silence when someone expected agreement. That's all it takes. And suddenly the person feels exposed. Like a secret they've spent years burying just got put under a spotlight. She doesn't attack, she doesn't shame, she simply reflects. And that reflection is uncomfortable because it shows people the parts of themselves they'd rather avoid. It's like emotional X-ray vision. She sees the fracture beneath the smile, and all she has to do is not look away. That alone makes people squirm. What makes her terrifying isn't that she says too much, it's that she doesn't have to say anything at all. Her presence alone can trigger self-awareness in people who aren't ready for it. They'll leave a conversation with her feeling weirdly rattled, unsure of why they suddenly feel so vulnerable. That's the power of her insight. She makes people feel seen, but not in the flattering Instagram filter kind of way. In the raw, unfiltered, I hope no one else noticed that kind of way. The truth is, Sigma females don't use this ability to control or destroy, but they will use it to protect themselves, and when necessary, disarm someone without ever raising their voice. Because when you can reflect someone's deepest flaw without saying a word, you don't need to fight, you just need to look. Number 8. They're immune to character assassination. You can't cancel someone who was never playing the popularity game in the first place. That's the quiet superpower of the Sigma female. She lives outside the social tribe, and that makes her immune to character assassination. When enemies try to smear her name, twist her words, or poison her reputation, they expect her to panic, defend, or beg for redemption. But she doesn't. She simply doesn't care enough to play along. And that's what throws people off. While others scramble to clear their name, she stays silent. While the mob circles, she stays still. There's no Instagram story clarifying her side, no passive-aggressive posts, no backroom pleading. Why? Because she doesn't seek validation from people she doesn't respect. Their opinion has no currency in her world. This lack of reaction is unsettling to those trying to destroy her. They expect a meltdown. They expect retaliation. Instead, she gives them nothing, no fuel, no fire, no response. Just that unnerving calm that says, you can throw dirt, but it won't stick to someone who doesn't need your approval to breathe. And here's where it gets interesting. The longer she stays unaffected, the more people start to question the attackers. Why isn't she reacting? Why isn't she bothered? Is it possible she's not the one with the issue? The smear campaign starts to collapse under its own desperation. Because when the target doesn't flinch, the spotlight turns back around. And often the one who started the fire gets burned. The Sigma female doesn't defend her reputation because her character is built on solitude, not status. People either see her truth or they don't, and she's okay with that. That kind of emotional independence is rare, and it makes her nearly untouchable in a world that thrives on public opinion. So when enemies try to destroy her image, they end up destroying their own credibility instead, because you can't assassinate a character that never needed your applause to exist. Number 9. They use decoys instead of defenses. Sigma females don't defend themselves because they don't have to. Instead, they do something far more subtle and far more effective. They use decoys. When people come for her, they often attack a version of her that's not entirely real. A curated fragment, a surface layer, something she allowed them to see. And while they waste energy tearing that down, her real self remains completely untouched. She knows that most people project. They create their own narrative about who she is, cold, intimidating, aloof, arrogant, and they attack based on that perception. She never corrects them. She lets them believe whatever version of her suits their bias. Because while they're reacting to their own illusion, she's already operating behind the scenes, gathering insight, planning her next move, or quietly walking away from the drama altogether. This isn't manipulation, it's strategy. Sigma females understand that defending yourself against every attack is exhausting and pointless. So she creates space between who she is and who people think she is. That space becomes her shield. Let them attack the image. Let them gossip, guess, and exaggerate. It doesn't matter. They're not even close to her core. And because she doesn't flinch or react, enemies assume they're winning. But that's the trap. They think they're cutting deep, but they're slicing air. She never gave them access to anything real. It's like punching a shadow. You tire yourself out while the real threat watches you from the dark. This is why people often walk away from confrontations with her feeling strangely unsettled. They realize too late that they were playing a game she never even entered. She let them think they had her figured out. She let them speak, accuse, insult, but she never gave them herself. By the time the truth catches up, she's long gone, having already moved forward while they were too busy shadowboxing their own assumptions. Number 10. They know the art of letting enemies win battles they'll regret. Sigma females don't always fight battles, not because they can't, but because they know some wins are just traps in disguise. When enemies come at them swinging, pushing, manipulating, trying to win at all costs, the Sigma female sometimes lets them. She steps aside, lets them have their little moment of glory, lets them believe they've outsmarted her. But what the enemy doesn't realize is that they just walked straight into a consequence they won't be able to undo. It's not weakness, it's strategy. The Sigma female understands the long game better than anyone. She knows that letting someone win the wrong way is more damaging than confronting them head-on. It lets their ego inflate, their arrogance sharpen, and their carelessness expose them for who they really are. All while she remains composed, calculating not for revenge but for the inevitable fall that's coming. And when it comes, it's brutal. That victory they were so proud of. It turns into guilt, exposure, or a complete collapse of credibility. And it doesn't just sting, it sticks. Because she didn't embarrass them. They embarrassed themselves. She didn't destroy their reputation. They did it in front of everyone. And now the regret is permanent because it can't be reversed, rewritten, or denied. The most haunting part? She's never loud about it. No, I told you so. No smug smile. Just silence. And that silence feels like judgment you can't escape. Because deep down the enemy knows they were given a chance to do better, and they chose wrong. This is how the Sigma female wins without fighting. She doesn't punish you. She lets the weight of your own choices do that for her. And that kind of justice, it cuts deeper than any confrontation ever could. She's not interested in temporary victory. She's playing for impact, the kind you never forget. Number 11. They withdraw their energy like it's oxygen and let people suffocate. A Sigma female's presence is subtle, steady, and strangely energizing until it's gone. And that's when people realize just how much they were feeding off her energy without even knowing it. Whether it was her calm in chaos, her silence in tension, or her unwavering self-control, she was the one regulating the emotional temperature of every room she walked into. But the moment she withdraws, that emotional ecosystem collapses. She doesn't need to argue, block, or burn bridges. She just fades out, quietly, completely, without warning or explanation. And that absence feels suffocating. Not because she took something tangible, but because she took her energy. The kind of energy that made others feel grounded, validated, noticed, or even powerful by proximity. Enemies often mistake her calm for compliance, her patience for weakness. They push, provoke, and take more than they were ever offered. And then suddenly she's gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. There's no access, no explanation, just a void. And in that void, things start to fall apart. People who once felt superior without her now feel exposed. Those who thrived off undermining her now struggle to find new targets. The ones who tried to dominate her start to feel directionless. It's not that she ruined them. It's that her silent exit removed the emotional oxygen they didn't realize they were breathing. The Sigma female doesn't need to punish anyone. Her absence does that all on its own. She understands that true power isn't in proving a point. It's in making herself unavailable. And the more someone tries to fill the space she left behind, the more obvious it becomes. Nothing compares. She never slammed the door. She simply walked away and took the air with her. And those left behind? They don't just miss her, they choke on the silence. Number 12. They mimic their enemy's tactics subtly, but sharpened. Sigma females don't just observe their enemies, they study them. Every tactic, every manipulation, every subtle move used against her gets logged, broken down, and repurposed. But she doesn't mimic like a copycat, she upgrades. She takes their strategy, strips it of its messiness, and refines it into something far more precise, something that hits harder, cleaner, and without emotional noise. It's not revenge, it's intelligence. If someone tries to use passive aggression, she'll respond with silence so sharp it cuts deeper than the insult. If someone tries to play games, she'll play too. Only she'll know when to fold, when to escalate, and when to exit without leaving a trace. She doesn't stoop to her enemy's level. She turns their own tactics into art and delivers them with elegance that stings harder than direct confrontation. It's psychological jiu-jitsu. She doesn't fight your force, she redirects it. The more you push, the more momentum you give her. She doesn't waste time coming up with new ways to strike. Why would she when your strategy already handed her the blueprint? The scary part is how subtle it is. You don't even realize she's using your own moves until it's too late. You think you're in control, but suddenly the situation flips. You're reacting, not leading. You're unraveling, not winning. And she's standing there, calm, collected, already moving on. Enemies often assume she's too quiet to be dangerous, too detached to engage, but the truth is she's simply selective. She won't retaliate with fire unless the fire can be repurposed into something more efficient. She doesn't fight for ego. She strikes with precision. And when she uses your own tactics to undo you, it doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like a reckoning, one you created, one you never saw coming, one you'll never forget. While the world plays chess with loud moves and public drama, the Sigma female wins in silence through strategy, depth, and precision. She doesn't dominate by force. She disarms with stillness. She doesn't seek revenge. She lets time, truth, and people's own arrogance do the work for her. And most importantly, she never plays for applause. She plays for clarity, control, and the quiet satisfaction of staying 10 steps ahead while everyone else is busy trying to decode her. Her genius isn't in how she fights, it's in how she rarely has to. She outsmarts by observing. She confuses by withholding. She defeats by detaching. And when the dust settles, she's always the one left standing, untouched, unreadable, and completely unbothered. Because the Sigma female's greatest weapon isn't her voice. It's the fact that you never really understood her to begin with. If you enjoyed this video and found yourself nodding in silent agreement, or stunned by how accurately it captured the Sigma mindset, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button to show some love, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to understand the power of subtle brilliance. And if you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Join the tribe of thinkers, strategists, and quietly powerful minds by subscribing to the channel. We're diving deep into what most people only scratch the surface of, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Because real power moves in silence, but wisdom, we spread that together.